What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rated Excellent. My name's Exy, and you found my little corner of the internet where I talk about video games, movie, TV, whatever the fuck I feel like. And this week's episode is just going to be like mostly just updates. Updates on a couple of things that were talked about in previous episodes, as well as what I'm going to be doing moving forward. So first and foremost, a couple of episodes ago, I made mention that I was waiting on a delivery that had some new audio equipment, and it did finally show up. And the most important thing in there was my brand new mic arm. It's a lot more low profile, but it's also very more heavy duty than what I previously had. The one that I've been using for years was just your traditional like scissor arm mic mount, and it was great, but the springs were getting kind of worn out, so I think I discussed how it would slump down and like I'd have to adjust it, and that would result in the mic being in different positions throughout recording sessions, and that made for a few audio fluctuations. Like it would occasionally get real quiet, and then it would also seem to get louder because I had it much closer than when I had started. But I really like this one. Like I said, it's very heavy duty. It's low profile. It's a swing mic instead of a scissor arm style, so it just swings right out of the way when I'm done with it, and it's great. Next up on the upgrade list is probably going to be a new microphone. Not that I really have any complaints about this particular microphone. It's been great. I've used it for years, but if I'm going to do this, then, you know, I want to upgrade things. Like, previously, I've been recording with a Behringer mixer that had USB output to a computer, which was great. I have no complaints for the Behringer, but, you know, everybody seems to be using the Scarlett, so I got a Scarlett. I love this thing. It's a lot more low profile than the Behringer was. It's just an audio interface as opposed to a audio mixer and audio interface. So it only has one job. So it has to be really, really good at it. And so far, I have no complaints about it. Got this nice little visual LED that I can see just out of the corner of my eye, basically checking for clipping, and that helps with recording a lot. Like if I'm getting a little too excited, I can see that the LED is changing, so I can kind of tone it back down or move the mic a little further away so it doesn't clip the audio. That's not to say it doesn't still happen from time to time, because you just get so caught up in a moment that shit happens. Yeah, over time I've been slowly making upgrades. Aside from the new microphone, probably the next... Honestly, this might take precedent over the microphone because I'm pretty sure I'm running on borrowed time at this point, but I know the hard drive in my computer is damaged because I hear it like whistling and scratching and like... And I know that that's not good. It's not a solid state drive. It's the old hard disk, actual CD style. So yeah, my computer is, like I said, is running on borrowed time. It's essentially just scraps and upgrades and bits and pieces from like 3 other computers at this point, and I've been putting off just outright building a brand new rig for probably about 5 years now. I've just kind of been putting band-aids on this one as I go, but I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and start looking at building a new rig probably after the first of the year, if this will make it that long. But yeah, at that point, I think that I will be set up pretty decently with equipment and should be able to pump stuff out a lot more frequently and just better quality all the way around. That's pretty much it as far as the Oh, one quick thing. When I was trying to mount my new mic arm, I was trying to mount it to the wall preferably, but the wall mount kit that came with it does not work with it. So in the process of that, I accidentally let it slip and ended up smacking one of my monitors right dead center and just shattered it. So that was actually my curved monitor. That was my primary gaming monitor. Like, I use it in the computer mode setup as well, but if I'm playing a game, that's the monitor that I'll play games on. So I ended up having to unexpectedly replace that. But instead of going with a monitor, I actually went back to just a regular TV. It's actually a little bit smaller in size than what I had. It's a 24-inch as opposed to a 27. But since its primary function is what I play the games on, I figure I might as well go back to a TV, since that's what it's for. And, I'm not going to lie, I've actually played a lot more Halo Master Chief Collection online multiplayer on it, and I feel like I can respond a whole lot better. It could be something to do with it being an actual TV versus a monitor, or it could be the smaller screen, so I can absorb more of the information at once. I don't know, but I really like it. I kind of think that from now on I will probably just game on a TV and not have a computer monitor as a gaming screen. So yeah, that was unexpected. Hooray for that. But no big deal. Like I said, it was actually kind of like a happy accident, because I really like how my current setup is all the way around, other than, the needing of a new microphone and a PC at some point. Alright, so the next update to talk about is something else that was mentioned in a previous episode, and that was talking about, now that everything is uploaded over to the ToC archive channel, that I did have one more Let's Play that never went up. I actually sat down to edit that earlier, and unfortunately, it will continue to just never go up. So I have all the gameplay footage, but apparently we had already changed over to doing separate audio tracks. So instead of having it like all one audio track where the gameplay and both of our commentaries were just in track one, apparently we had already started doing the game track as its own audio, and then each individual microphone as its own audio. I do not have the audio tracks, so all I have is the gameplay and the game audio, because it was built into the video. So that is unfortunate. But just so there's a record of that, the game that it was actually the Xbox remake of Resident Evil 1. And it was actually my first time playing through it. I think it was actually one of our earlier episodes of, like, one of us play while we both commentate, kind of like Game Grump style. So we didn't really have like a good rhythm in place for how to do that yet, because previously, everything had either been 2-player or like the Minecraft or the Mario stuff. And yeah, we just didn't really have a plan really on how to do it with one person playing and the other not playing. Plus, on top of that, with it being my first playthrough, and I had not played Resident Evil 1 since playing Resident Evil Director's Cut on PS1 when I was like, I don't know, 12 maybe? So it was essentially a brand new game, and I had no idea what I was doing, plus with all the stuff they added in that wasn't in the Director's Cut version. And I never actually beat the Director's Cut either. I think I made it as far as the snake in the attic, and that was it. So the idea was I was going to play it, and Aaron was supposed to look up a guide, and then kind of like walk me through it. And I don't know if maybe some of the stuff is just randomly seeded, like some of the items are random, or if he was looking up a guide for the original Resident Evil 1, but it was like everything he was telling me and where to go was just completely fucking wrong every time. And that led to a lot of arguing during that recording session. A lot of arguing. And that led to, if nothing else, we abandoned the series after I've got 3 episodes recorded, so we must have only made it three in before it was like, you know what, fuck this. We can't do this. We gotta break off and do something else. Because we weren't making any progress in the game, and like I said, everything that he was pulling up in that guide was just wrong. Like I said, I don't know if he was looking up the wrong guide, or if stuff is random, or that was just a really completely shitty guide to begin with, but it was like death after death after death, and we weren't making any progress. In fact, where it cuts off is in like I guess it's like a crypt thing where there's like 6 masks or something you have to put into the wall, and it releases a crimson head, and that's where it ended. The crimson head killed me. I was done. That was probably like the 6th or 7th time of dying in this maybe hour and 45 minutes worth of footage. And yeah, we just couldn't go on. And I want to say that was probably when the both of us actually started thinking that we kind of wanted to start discussing breaking off and doing our own thing. Because up until that point, we had a really good system going. And then we had to change it because, when it comes down to it, we were running out of strictly 2-player games to play, so we had to adapt. And like I said, that was when Game Grumps were really big on both of our radars. So we were like, this is how they do it, and honestly, this is how Super Beard Brothers do it, and this is kind of how Super Gaming Brothers do it, which all 3 of those were channels that we watched and kind of inspired us to get into it as well. So this is how they're doing it. We should try to do it like that too. And eventually, we did do it, and it worked. The Legend of Zelda series was all me playing. Sonic and Knuckles was all me playing. When we had the Mario Brothers stuff, it was 2-player, but that's not 2 players at the exact same time, kind of like it was at Minecraft. So there was still while Aaron's playing, I'm just sitting there. All I'm there for is discussion at that point. And I don't know, it's probably best that audio is lost, because I knew going into it, going to edit it, that out of the 3 videos that were there, not realizing that the audio would be incomplete, that I was probably going to turn that 3 videos into maybe a 15 or 20 minute snippet reel, because I very much remember that a lot of the recording was just quiet, or it was resetting or arguing about the guide being incorrect. And I was only going to put it up for the sake of the fact that it was part of our history. And, as an archive channel, it should have every piece of history that we had. But unfortunately, the lost episode of ToC is now officially completely lost. Since there's no audio tracking to go with it, I just already deleted the videos. There's no point in having them. They're never going to see the light of day without the audio, so might as well just delete them. So that is what happened to the lost episode of ToC. Alright, so moving forward in rated Exyllent channel news, I think for the time being, instead of doing edited video game content, I think, at least due to the time constraints that I'm faced with now, I think that the best thing I'm going to do is continue to do the podcast weekly. That does go up on YouTube a week after it goes on all podcast services. So if you want this episode, as it actually premieres a week earlier, then you have to follow on Spotify or Apple or Samsung Podcast or whatever podcast service you prefer to use. If you want to do it right here on YouTube, then that's fine too. Just understand that the episode that comes out on Sunday has been available on podcast services since the previous Sunday. I do have a reason for that, and that's just because it is a podcast. It's not video content, so I feel like it should be available on audio-only platforms exclusively for, a timed exclusive type thing. Over on Patreon, I'm still uploading the first 10 full episodes, plus the 2 test episodes that are still available. And then after that, there will be no more episodes up on Patreon unless I launch like a supplemental, like post-show type thing. Then that will be exclusive to Patreon. As of right now, the only tiers up on Patreon are, one is if you subscribe to that, then you'll get a shout out in the episode that's recorded after you subscribe. And then the second tier is you get a shout out in every episode as long as you're subscribed. Plus, you get access to polls like, what game should I play next? Or if I do like a ranking thing, you could have the ability to, vote on some of the rankings and maybe even have your comments included into it too. I know that it's still very, very early on, and I have a very tiny audience right now, which is perfectly fine. It's a brand new podcast. I've been very much absent from content creation on the regular for a couple of years. So I understand that I'm basically starting back at the bottom, and I'm not pushing it as hard as I really should be, or as I did back when I was taking content creation like this is what I want my job to be. I need to hustle every day. No, I have a really good job now. I enjoy my job. It pays very well. This is just a hobby to help me release, stress and steam, and I also enjoy doing it, so if it gets to the point where it can provide supplemental income, that would be fucking amazing. But if it doesn't, then I'm happy just to do this and not really make anything off of it. Because if you find it entertaining, that's great. But I also find it almost therapeutic to just sit here and stare at a bunch of audio waves and just talk about whatever I feel like, because I don't really have an outlet for that at the moment outside of this, so this is good for me. And in turn, eventually I will get into some type of groove and develop doing this in a way so it's not really so broken and sporadic and improvisational. I do words good sometimes. So eventually this could become like I don't know if it'll become like S tier podcast, but if I can at least hit like C or B tier, that would be cool. And you know, I could put a lot more effort into it right now, but what I would be doing would just be like stealing from other creators. And while I would like to like borrow some other podcast segments, I want to be able to put my own spin on it too, so that it's not just blatantly taking it from them. So I am working on that. It could be another 10 or so episodes before I even try to do something like that. I don't know. But back to the original point of this is that moving forward on the Rated Exyllent YouTube channel, it's pretty much just going to be the weekly podcast, and it's just the video that Podbean automatically creates and provides. Nothing fancy going in there. And at least until I have more time to do the edited content, it's just going to be the stream VODs. So I've talked about that I have Twitch. I had just started streaming on Twitch again, and then I haven't done it in the last probably 3 weeks at all. And I've also talked about I've got videos already recorded, ready to be edited and uploaded, but I don't have time to edit them. So moving forward, instead of streaming the game and then also simultaneously recording it so that I can break it down into episodic segments, upload those, and then after the whole game is completed and all the episodes are uploaded, then upload the VODs, I'm going to skip out on doing the episodic stuff, and I'm going to stream it on Twitch, and then much like the audio podcast, probably a week later, I will upload the VOD onto YouTube. Now, as I stated in the last episode, my regular 9-to-5 job is moving into the busiest season of the year, because we ramp up pretty hard from Thanksgiving until Christmas, because that's just the busy season for us. There's nothing we can do about it. So during that time, I don't think I'm going to be able to stream at all. But after the first of the year, probably once upgrading the PC, that is on the list of things that I want to hit hard. Is I want to have a set streaming schedule, say for instance, maybe every Sunday and like Wednesday, at least 2 days a week, or like Sunday in the afternoon and Wednesday in the evening, so I can kind of hit a couple of different time zones. But I'm not committing to those days right now because I don't know. But once I get things in place, I definitely do want to commit to a schedule. And like I said, we'll stream on Twitch, and then probably the following week on the same day of the stream. So like if I do stream on Sundays, then probably the following Sunday is where the VOD will show up on YouTube. And there could be like some minor editing, like I'll edit out like the breaks and stuff. But other than that, it won't be like it used to be, like speeding up death segments. I may cut those out, or I may speed those up still. But as far as like adding in like text overlays that like explain some of the lore that might need to be explained, or I don't know. I used to do a bunch of stuff like that. Instant replays, probably not. It's going to be very minor stuff. Like I said, probably definitely cutting out the be right back screens. And if like there's several minutes of like getting stuck in one place and just dying over and over again, I may just cut past that. But that's probably about as much as I'm going to go into, other than adding the intro and outro. So that's pretty much all I've got as far as what's happening with the channel and the podcast moving forward. And, you know, between now and then, I will still be doing the podcast weekly. I will find time to do that because I do really enjoy that. And I guess the only thing left to talk about is since the last recording, which was actually just a couple days ago, a little peek behind the curtain. The last 3 episodes that have gone up, I've recorded them the same day that they were published. Like, I'm trying to commit to, like, publishing at 6 p.m. on Sunday, my time. And I'm not going to lie, the last episode that I recorded, I finished editing and hit export, and it was like 5:20. So that gave me 40 minutes to wait for the export, get it uploaded, write the description, and hit publish. But I got it done. But now I've got a little bit of time where I can record at least a couple episodes in advance. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So that I'm not, pushing that deadline, because that was pretty fucking close. I mean, that's my personal deadline. If it went up late, it just went up late. It wouldn't really been a make or break moment, but I like to be consistent on my times. But yeah, since then, I've tried to play a brand new game, and all I can say is, if you like the series, that's great. I'm not going to hate on anybody for liking things that I don't like, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. You do you. But I've heard tons of people talk about the Mass Effect series, and N7 Day was just a few days ago, and it was all over the feed again, and I was like, you know what? I've had this on my backlog for a long time. Let me try it. And man, I tried really, really, really hard to like it. Like, really hard. And I got like 15 minutes in, and I was like, yep, I do not like this. I don't like the little tree at the bottom where you can choose how you respond, and I'm sure that has some type of effect on things in later on. And I know that it's kind of like the Telltale series games where everything you do in 1 rolls over into 2 and then into 3 and so on and so on. But after like 15 minutes, I already knew I don't like this game. I don't like it. But I tried to push on, and I played about another hour's worth. And even after that, I was like, yeah, I just don't like this game. I could see where people do like it, but Mass Effect is just not for me. I feel like it is somewhere in between Halo and Saints Row. Specifically like Saints Row the 3rd, because there is some like RPG upgrade actions in there, and a lot of the actual gameplay part was reminiscent of Halo. But I like Halo, and I like Saints Row the 3rd a lot, but when you combine them, it just wasn't for me. I tried my hardest to like it, but Mass Effect is a no. I just can't do it. I know that kind of seems like a random topic to include here at the end of the podcast, especially since none of the rest of it had anything to do with video games. But the next couple of episodes are going to be very, very focus pointed. And there wouldn't be any room anywhere else to plug in this information that I don't like Mass Effect. And I just felt the need to share that I don't like Mass Effect. I don't like Mass Effect. Again, I if you like it, that's great. I know I like games that other people don't like. I admitted in the last episode that I like the Resident Evil Netflix series, the live action one. And that is, there are not very many people that like that on the internet. But I feel like if you like something, you should be able to praise it. And if you don't like something, you should be able to let people know that you don't like it. And I am a little disappointed that I don't like it, because hearing the way people talk about it and seeing the stuff that I have seen from it over the years, it does seem like it would be something that I would enjoy, but it just did not click. And like I said, I tried my hardest. But after that first 15, 20 minutes, my mind was made up. I pushed forward that extra hour or so, hoping that something drastic would happen and be like, oh my god, this is why people like this game. But it didn't happen, and I know that I was probably still very early on in the game when I quit, but I just can't suffer through another 2, 3, 5, 10 hours worth of the game to get to the good part. I mean, I just can't do it. When I can play 20 other games right off the bat, like Sonic 3 or Sonic Mania or Super Mario World, or Mario Kart 64, that I could spend that same amount of time in and enjoy myself. So, yep, but I think that's where I'm going to end it. So, once again, this is Rated Excellent. I've been Exy. If you found the podcast and you like it, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. If you're here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and share it with anybody that you think might enjoy it. There are links down in the description here on YouTube. I think on most of your podcast platforms, there's an episode notes section. So there's some links down there that you can check out that can help support the show. And on that, there's nothing else really much to say. So I guess let's stop.